In 2005, newly launched Spacetime Studios seemed to be off to a rocking start. Founded by Gary Gaddis and 3 longtime buddies in the video game business, the company had quickly ramped from 0 to 60 employees, thanks to a contract to develop Blackstar, a massively multiplayer online game for NCSoft, a Korean company.
It was a very large MMO, $25–30 million budget. Our deal with NCSoft was we would own tools and technology, and they would own intellectual property. And so we set out to do this. We built this game for 2.5 years or so, and built some really amazing technology and beautiful art direction.
But before the game was finished, NCSoft soured on the North American market after disappointing sales of its 2 previous games. It pulled the plug on Blackstar. Spacetime was looking into the abyss, but there was an upside. We
were set adrift in 2008 with an amazing piece of technology. We called it the Spacetime engine, and we negotiated the rights to the intellectual property back from them as well.
So the partners packed up a demo of their unfinished MMO and jetted off on a quest to find a publisher who'd put up the funds to complete their game. But no luck. Forced to lay off employees, their gloom only deepened.
It's a devastating process. And we kept on getting more and more depressed as our prospects grew dimmer and dimmer.
And then, a ray of hope. A Fortune 500 company hired them to produce a big-budget educational MMO. But just when it looked like things were turning around, it all disintegrated when the company canceled the unfinished project.
This was kind of the second gut punch that we'd gotten, and our company was almost dead twice, and we really weren't sure that we wanted to continue doing what we were doing. So we set out to change the world, and that's not what we had done.
Then, inspiration struck in an unlikely place.
We were going to the airport, and we were in a van together, and we're all playing on our iPhones, and we just had this spark. We're like, well, why can't we be playing together? You know, these devices are all connected, and they're very powerful at this point in time, and people already spend money on these devices. You know, just because nobody's done this before does not mean that it can't be done. I bet we could pull this off. So we scaled the studio down to 6 guys, 4 partners, and then 2 of our key employees. Jason Decker, who's a fantastic artist, and a guy named Rick Delschmidt, who's a brilliant technologist.
They gave themselves 6 months to complete the project. 6 months without salaries. There was only enough money left to cover operating expenses. It was a do-or-die effort. The result was the world's first mobile 3D MMO, Pocket Legends.
With Pocket Legends, we took the mechanics of the traditional PC MMO and combined that with the play patterns of mobile players into an experience that nobody had ever seen before. And basically, we wanted you to have a powerful experience where you could get in and out of the game in a couple of minutes. And then we chained these experiences together.
Ready to launch in January of 2010, Gaddis followed up on an earlier contact with Apple and asked them to check out the game.
So a guy called us, and he installed the IPA, and about a minute into it, he's like, holy cow, this is amazing. Wait, this is revolutionary. We've never seen anything like this before. And he got all excited, and then he hung up the phone. And we're like, what just happened?
They soon got their answer. Apple called back and asked them to hold the release of their game for the introduction of the iPad.
We launched alongside the iPad on April 3rd, 2010. And it did really, really well.
Part of what fueled the excitement was that the game was synced up around the world. No matter what kind of connection a player had, he or she could literally play with anyone, anytime, anywhere.
We were blown away by the response, right? The world had never seen anything like this before, and people are playing all over the world.
And some of those players were venture capitalists.
These were guys that I could not get to return a phone call for 5 years previously, and all of a sudden, we were very popular. We were a pretty girl at the dance.
With a hefty investment from Insight Venture Partners of New York, Spacetime continued to light up pockets around the world while producing more industry firsts.
It's Pocket Legends.
In November of 2010, we ported Pocket Legends to Android. So it became the first 3D MMO to play across iOS and Android together. And that went really well also.
When contemplating their next project, the partners realized they had a property they already knew quite well, Blackstar.
So we took the intellectual property that we'd been developing for NCSoft and kind of recast it in the Pocket Legends mold.
On this release, Spacetime partnered with Google and launched on Android first.
And it was another phenomenal launch. We got about 1 million downloads in the first month on Star Legends.
Google then invited Spacetime to launch on its browser, Chrome.
So now we had 5 platforms, iOS, Android, Linux, Mac, and PC, all playing together, all around the world. So every country in the world has logged in and played these games, with the notable exception of Cuba and North Korea. And I think that's just because we can't get stats out of there.
There is a house in New Orleans.
Turning toward the dark side, Spacetime broke new ground with its next release, Dark Legends.
Dark Legends is unique in a couple of different ways also. There's types of mechanics, game mechanics that monetize very, very well that are outside of the typical realm of MMOs. And we integrated that with our award-winning 3D gameplay, and that's what became Dark Legends. So Dark Legends launched on Android and Chrome together, and it became the world's first MMO to launch across mobile and desktop together.
Looking back, the irony of Spacetime's success is what seemed like a disaster in the beginning. The canceled contract with NCSoft ultimately pushed them into pioneering 3D MMOs in the mobile space, and the game engine they developed for NCSoft is what allowed them to pull it off.
So NCSoft, God bless them, funded a Ferrari engine of a game engine, and we were able to take that Ferrari engine out and put it in a go-kart and take it to the go-kart races.
So what's next? We'll give you a hint. They're cranking up that digital Ferrari engine to produce another legendary product,